The pen trembled in her hand as tears blurred the ink, and the sound of Christmas laughter echoed behind her like a cruel reminder of everything she was losing. Under glowing lights and beside a decorated tree, she signed away her marriage while surrounded by people who thought she was nothing more than a quiet, broken woman. No one in that room knew the truth about who she really was or what this moment would awaken. Before the story goes any further, take a second to pause. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us not to judge people by what we see on the surface, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach hearts that truly need them. The Christmas party was supposed to be a celebration, but for her it felt like an ending disguised in tinsel and smiles. The house belonged to her husband's family, elegant and full of voices that never truly included her. Relatives moved around with glasses in hand, whispering congratulations to one another for a marriage they believed had failed because she was weak, unambitious, and dependent. She sat at the long wooden table, shoulders hunched, wearing a simple denim jacket among polished suits and glittering dresses. The divorce papers lay before her like a final verdict, and when she leaned forward to sign, no one noticed how her hands shook or how every stroke of the pen felt like carving away a piece of her heart. She had loved him deeply once. She had believed in building something together, even when he began to change, when his ambition grew louder and his patience grew thin. He wanted a partner who fit his world, someone impressive in front of his family, someone who looked successful. Over time, she became invisible to him, a shadow that no longer matched the image he wanted to present. The decision to divorce was framed as mutual, calm, and practical, but inside her chest it felt like abandonment wrapped in politeness. What none of them knew was that she had learned long ago how to survive in silence. Long before this marriage, before the modest clothes and the careful humility, she had lived a life shaped by unimaginable loss and extraordinary success. She had inherited a vast fortune in her early 20s after a tragic accident took her parents from her. Overnight, she became the sole owner of an empire that spanned technology, healthcare, and global investments. The money had felt heavy, almost shameful, while she was still grieving. Instead of stepping into the spotlight, she stepped away from it entirely. She changed her name, placed the companies under professional management, and vanished from public records. Wealth to her was never freedom. It was noise, expectation, and constant fear of being valued only for what she owned. She wanted a life where love was real, where people stayed because they wanted to, not because of numbers in a bank account. That was the life she tried to build when she met her husband, choosing never to tell him the truth. At first, their relationship felt pure. They lived simply, shared dreams, and promised to grow together. But as time passed, his insecurities surfaced. He wanted more chaste status, compared their life to others. She supported him quietly, investing anonymously in opportunities that helped him succeed, never once taking credit. When he failed, he blamed her calm nature, her lack of visible ambition, never realizing she was the invisible hand keeping him afloat. Now, as she signed the divorce papers, the room felt colder. A woman in a red dress stood behind her husband with a confident smile, already fitting perfectly into the space she once occupied. The family watched with thinly disguised relief, convinced this ending was necessary. To them, she was a chapter best forgotten. She stood slowly after signing, wiping her tears before anyone could comment. Her husband took the papers without looking at her, already moving on in his mind. She walked toward the door, each step heavy but steady. Outside, the winter air hit her face sharply, and for the first time that night, she breathed deeply. The pain was real, but beneath it stirred something stronger. Freedom in the days that followed, she allowed herself to grieve fully, not just the marriage, but the years she spent shrinking herself to fit into a life that never truly welcomed her. Then, quietly, she made a call. It was time to return, not to the spotlight, but to purpose. She stepped back into her role as the unseen leader of her companies, not with anger, but with clarity. What happened next unfolded without drama, but with undeniable impact. The struggling businesses her ex-husband relied on suddenly lost funding. Deals he assumed were guaranteed disappeared. Investors he never knew were backing him withdrew with polite explanations. At the same time, global news outlets began reporting on a mysterious female billionaire philanthropist returning to public life, funding education, healthcare, and rebuilding communities. Her name appeared on screens everywhere, her story inspiring millions. The realization hit her former family slowly, painfully. Photos surfaced, timelines connected. The quiet woman they dismissed was the same woman now standing on international stages, praised for humility and vision. Shock turned into regret, admiration mixed with shame. Invitations were sent, apologies drafted, none of them were answered. She did not seek revenge. She simply chose not to return to places where her worth had been questioned. Instead, she focused on creating spaces where people were valued for who they were, not what they could provide. She funded shelters for women rebuilding their lives after divorce. She created scholarships for those who felt unseen. Every project carried a piece of her own healing. Years later, during another Christmas season, she hosted a gathering of her own. The room was filled with laughter, warmth, and people who knew her story and respected her journey. She stood by the window watching snow fall, feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time, peace, not because she had proven anything, but because she had finally chosen herself. Just before we reach the end, if this story is touching your heart, please take a moment to comment below and share how it made you feel. Your words matter more than you know. She never regretted signing those papers in tears. That moment, painful as it was, became the doorway to her truth. Losing a marriage revealed her strength. Being underestimated became her greatest protection. And walking away from a room that didn't see her allowed her to build a world that finally did. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that hidden strength often lives behind quiet faces and broken moments, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel. And before you go, leave a comment saying what part of her journey stayed with you the most. Sometimes the end of one chapter is the beginning of everything we were meant to become.